All right, good evening, Hampstead. Calling to order the school board meeting for May 10th, 2022 at approximately 7:02 p.m.
Sure. Carl Hubner?
Here.
Jason Giard?
Here.
David Smith?
Here.
Megan Malcolm?
Here.
Erin Pellegrini?
Here.
And Pinkerton Student Liaison Jack Cameron?
Here.
Thank you. And also seated at the board table is Superintendent of Schools Bob Thompson.
All right, if we can ask, thank you, Melissa. Everybody to rise for the pledge. Erin, you want to start us off?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everybody. All right, board members, in your packet, you have two sets of meeting minutes to approve. One from the April 12th regular meeting, and then another from the April 12th non-public meeting. Give you a moment to take a look at them, and then I'll be looking for a motion to accept.
I'll make the motion to accept the meeting minutes for the regular meeting and non-public for April 12th.
Second.
All right, any questions, discussion? All approved, please raise your hand.
Thank you.
All right. See if I can get these. All right, and Melissa, just want to make sure that any public comments?
There are no public comments tonight.
All right. That brings us into our school highlights. We're going to turn it over to the ever-charming Jack Cameron for his Pinkerton Student Liaison role and report.
Alrighty. So the Pinkerton Academy Student Liaison Report for 10 May 2022. As I stated at a previous meeting, graduation is on the 10th of June, which is exactly 1 month away. And at this point, I think I may have already walked the stage for graduation along with many members of the class of 2022. June 1st will be the last day of classes for seniors. June 2nd will be White 1, White 2 exams and competency recovery. June 3rd will be Red 1, Red 2 exams. June 6th, W3, W4 exams. June 7th, R3, R4 exams and competency recovery. June 9th will be Senior Awards Night at Memorial Field at 6 o'clock p.m. The 10th will be graduation at the Memorial Field, also at 6 o'clock p.m. The 11th, as of this point, will be the rain date for graduation, which will also be at the Memorial Field at 6 o'clock p.m. Pinkerton is pleased to announce that there is no restriction on the number of guests you may invite to graduation. More information on graduation will be provided in the coming weeks. This includes details regarding arrival times, expectations, dress codes, seating, and parking. Please contact the Senior Associate Deans, Mr. Danable or Mrs. Larkin, if you have any questions regarding your senior's graduation. Athletics. Spring sports are continuing to be strong. The Pinkerton Academy baseball team won their first 4 games of the season with stellar performances across the board. Senior night for the girls varsity lacrosse will be at 5 o'clock p.m. this Friday at Memorial Field. You can visit Pinkerton Athletics for more information. Additionally, some members of our track team, I think 2 or 3 of them being Hampstead graduates, from I can name from my head, Zachary Smith and Alex LeBlanc, competed at the Penn Relays a couple weeks ago, which is at the University of Pennsylvania. They stayed there for 3 days and participated in relays, the 4x1 and the 4x4, and did really well. think they placed second for New Hampshire and first for D1. The proposed student dress code policy that I made reference to at our last board meeting was approved at the first Board of Trustees meeting. Typically that takes a couple of months to approve such big changes, but the Board of Trustees reviewed this dress changes proposal and have approved its implementation for the 2022-2023 school year. Just to refresh, one of the main changes from the current dress code that's in this now approved dress code is the acceptance of rips or distressed materials in garments that you can wear at Pinkerton. Previously, Pinkerton was against all types of distressing on clothing, regardless whether or not it exposed skin or other materials underneath. But with this now approved dress code, there are some changes being made to that. The entire armpit to mid-thigh must still be covered and undergarments cannot be visible. However, more information in addition to graphics and projects approved by both the Student Dress Code Committee and the Board of Trustees will be coming in the following months, including a developed guide for students, parents, and faculty to explain the changes and the new developments at Pinkerton. AP exams. So coming back from our wonderful April break, Pinkerton students got to participate in advanced placement testing. How this works is they're exams for our college level courses at Pinkerton that serve as an assessment of the knowledge and skills obtained from College Board developed classes offered at our school. These exams will continue through the month of May and typically last 3 to 4 hours, sometimes longer. If students score high enough, many can use them for college credit or advanced placement upon their admittance to college, which can help alleviate some of the financial burden involved with higher education and also allow students to more quickly specialize into their particular career path. Any students participating in AP exams will receive email correspondence from Lila Mazzola, the AP testing coordinator, prior to their testing date with information regarding the testing location and required supplies. The junior prom, the class of 2023 junior prom, will occur on May 14th at the Hackler Gymnasium, so this Saturday. It returns to campus, and participants should check their emails for additional information involving admittance, dress code, and any other details. On Friday, April 22nd, members of the Pinkerton Jazz Combo played at the Chester Lions Club senior banquet of the town hall, and they had a great time. The Hampstead Educational Foundation and other scholarships will be awarding Hampstead students and Pinkerton students scholarships over the next several weeks. Tomorrow, 4 Hampstead graduate seniors will receive the Hampstead Educational Scholarship, including Quinn Mayu, Ellie Crump, Ethan Charles, and myself. The National Honor Society induction will also occur tomorrow, in which Pinkerton Academy juniors and seniors will be inducted into the National Honor Society, 7 o'clock p.m. in the Stockbridge Theater. First-year members of the National Honor Society will receive pins and certificates, while second-year members receive their graduation cords. Mrs. Nicole Lemire, advisor, and NHS President Isabel Povey, a Hampstead Schools graduate, will direct the ceremony. The Science Honor Society will also have an induction on the 25th of May. It's 6 o'clock p.m. More information will follow for parents and inductees. The Pinkerton Academy Student Council was recently recognized as a 2022 National Gold Council of Excellence. This is in recognition of the standards of quality that the Council consistently demonstrates in its operation and its projects and activities. The Student Council represents the entirety of the Pinkerton Academy student body, sponsors community service programs, and hosts a variety of events for Pinkerton and the Pinkerton community to participate in. This executive board for the 2021-2022 Student Council features quite a few Hampstead graduates. Among them, Ryan McMahon, President, Isabel Povey, First Vice President, Christina Pakowski, Second Vice President, Jack Cameron, Secretary, and Nathan Rue, Treasurer. Historian Charlotte McDaniel of the class of 2023 created the Gold Council application and spent months preparing for this recognition. In the following weeks, elections for all student government organizations will occur, those being student council and class office. Many other organizations and clubs are also electing their officers within the coming weeks. So if you have any juniors who are students, they will be quite stressed out for the next month or so. But other than that, many changes are occurring at the academy, and I will do my best to update you on those.
Great. Thanks, Jack. All right. So for the next highlights, we're going to be bringing up Principal DeNola.
Good evening, everyone. Really nice to see you on this beautiful spring evening. It has finally sprung. So before I go into my report, I would just like to take a few moments to celebrate some exceptional learning that has been going on in our 5th grade classrooms. All 5th graders have been studying some very important topics of our past so we can learn and move forward and be wiser community members. So at this point, I'd like to ask for Tristan Swan and Sarah Snyder to come to the podium along with their teacher, Mrs. Howard, who I wish you had been able to see her costume and her regalia was, I think, the only word I can think of is breathtaking. So I'm sorry that she's not in full regalia. Mrs. Howard.
Oh my goodness, you're funny. Hi, good evening. First, Jack, wonderful to see you. We're going to be watching you. You're going to do great things. It's wonderful to see you. I was back there going, Jack is so good. He's such a good boy. Oh my gosh, look at him. So anyway, I regress. So grade 5 has been working on ancient Greece. We've been working our way from Mesopotamia all the way across the Fertile Crescent and down up through Babylon, down onto Egypt, and now we've crossed the Mediterranean, thank you Cleopatra, with our connection to Greece and Rome. With the unit on Greece, we always look at the geography, we look at the main parts of Greece, their play in the bigger picture, if you will, and Greece, we spend quite a bit of time on Greece because that's where most of our culture comes from. It spread to Rome, but we celebrated the Greek Olympics. We had our mini Olympics, and I have brought with me today, and I'm not going to take up much more time, I brought with me today 2 citizens from Greece that would like to talk to you about life in Greece. And one of them is Tristan Swan, and he is from Athens, and Sarah Snyder, and she is from Sparta. If I can move this just a little bit.
If I can do it.
If you can do it. Okay, you're going to go first, right? Okay, just want to make sure they can hear you.
Wait, can I reach this? I can't tell.
I'm going to help you out a little bit.
Yay.
The struggle's real, honey, the struggle is real. All right, give it a shot.
Wait, okay, yeah, that's good. Hello, I'm Sarah Snyder, and I'm from Sparta. Today, Tristan and I are here to give you a brief summary of what we have been learning in 5th grade social studies. First, Sparta had one of the most interesting governments in all of Greece. They were technically a diarchy, but they didn't really count it. 2 kings had ruled the city-state, one ruling the government and the other ruling the army. But 28 elders limited the powers of the 2 kings. Life in Sparta as a woman, I can be in charge of my very own property and life. I can exercise every day, and if I wanted to, I could potentially become a businesswoman. I can do this because in Sparta, women have rights. Meanwhile, men in Sparta are taken from their mothers at age 6 and are in custody of the army. Their training is extremely harsh. They barely get fed, they sleep on the floor, and they get whipped. It doesn't matter if you are good or not. They stay in the army for a huge portion of their lives. War is the most important thing to you if you are a man in Sparta. Speaking of war, in 431 BC, the Peloponnesian War had just begun and lasted around 27 years. In this war, both Sparta and Athens fought against each other back and forth. In the end, Sparta won, but not for the reason you'd expect. Sparta won mostly because of the plague. The plague began spreading around the city-state of Athens just after they built protective walls around it to keep safe from the Spartans. After most Athenians had died from the plague, the rest of them came back together and rebuilt their navy and city-state again. But after that, everything went downhill. The Athenians just kept getting defeated and getting weaker and weaker. So eventually, they threw in the towel.
Even though we threw in the towel, we still have some pretty good things about our city-state. Hi, I'm Tristan Swan from Athens, and I'm here to tell you what Athens was all about. The government in Athens was mostly the same as Sparta, but even though Sparta was a democracy, they did not count the votes. Athens, on the other hand, actually counted the votes. The boys over 18 years old got to put in votes, but they had to be Athenian citizens from birth. Men also had more time with their parents, not leaving until 16 years old, and serving the military a minimum of 2 years. We had literature, math, astrology, and poetry. Athenians lived on a rocky shore, so when Sparta tried to sabotage their land by burning it, they did not prevail. Athens traded because they had no soil, and all they could trade was goats and sheep. They had one of the best navies in Greece, having 3,000 triremes filled with the best navy men, taking down any unprepared city-state with ease. Even though we were very tough, we had to surrender.
Believe it or not, the whole 5th grade has been working on a 5-paragraph essay whether we would choose to live in Athens or Sparta. Turns out we both picked Sparta.
If you had to choose where to live, where would you go, Athens or Sparta? Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Stay here just for questions in case you have any. Ta-da! They did this on their own. I was very excited for them. Sent them an email. Sent mom and dad first an email over the weekend and said, would they be interested? I didn't want to ask them first because they'd be like, yeah, and parents could be like, no. So I went to the parents first, and with wonderful, wonderful reception, they were like, yes, they would love it. Said, show up at 6:45, costumes, and then I met with the kids during the week and said, they want to know what you learned. And I didn't script it. I just met with them and said, how do you want to do it? These 2 young people behind me did this whole entire thing on their own. I just gave them the opportunity with the help of Mrs. Denola. So, and yes, they both chose Sparta, and they did a rock, paper, scissors to who got Athens. So you can guess who lost. But they're yours if you have any questions.
Well, I don't have any questions, but I'd like to tell you guys that you, number one, look amazing. And that was really awesome. It's so hard, even as adults, to get up and talk in front of people. You guys did a fabulous job.
Thank you.
And so that was amazing. It was really great.
Do you want to tell them why you're dressed up? Why we dressed up?
Sure. Sarah, do you want? Sure. So, the week before April vacation, on Friday, we participated in the Greek Olympics, and we went to the Hawk Awards all dressed in these beautiful Greek togas. And we even got a standing ovation because we looked so awesome. And after the Hawk Awards, we went through a series of challenges. There was a paper, what's it called?
Paper plate discus.
Yeah, paper plate discus, the straw throw, cotton ball shot. Yep, cotton ball shot put, and the last, then the high jump, the sticky note high jump. Yes, very interesting challenges, and we got many awards for them for people that got the highest jump, longest distance for a throw, things like that. Yeah. It was an awesome
And
day.
afterwards, we watched Hercules.
Yes.
That's excellent.
Great job.
I think the only thing I'm disappointed in is we didn't get to see Miss Howard dressed up, so I think we're going to have to invite her back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We have a Renaissance time coming up.
Oh, there. And your queenship, yes.
We have plans for you. We will definitely invite you when we have this new idea of Mrs. Howard's coming up. It's going to be very fun. So thank you very much, Tristan and Sarah and your families. Thank you for supporting. And parents, I've never, ever experienced a no from a Hsdsb parents. It's yes, where should I be? How do I do it? What do you need? And that's the beauty of Hsdsb. That's one of those intangibles that you can't write down in a report, but it's just always there. So thank you very, very much. Proud of you, Tristan and Sarah. So today we had instructional rounds at Hsdsb Middle School as part of our Universal Design for Learning team. They got together to reflect and identify best instructional practices in classrooms. Today's work generated a lot of lively discussions between teachers who don't normally get together to see one another. Case managers were in regular classroom teachers were in learning centers, and just understanding what are the best practices to get our students to their greatest potential. So I'm very happy to see our instructional rounds are back. We were unable to do that for so many months, so it's nice to have that part of our strategies to improve instruction. Another thing that has happened was a couple weeks ago, Mrs. Downey took her response to intervention class, which is an opportunity for kids to extend their learning. We use response to intervention to meet the learning needs of students, but also to enhance their learning opportunities by getting out there and being in the community and helping, especially in the area of food insecurity. And these students met with Mr. James Carey, who is the director of the St. Anne's Food Pantry. They did some sanding and priming and painting of some of the whiteboards and chalkboards, and made their statements about good nutrition, and created some food-based artwork that will surpass their time here at Hsdsb and long serve our community. So, and I thank Mr. Ott, our maintenance facilities crew, for helping out in the call to help with some moving of some heavy equipment. So thank you to facilities. Also, our students, before vacation, our 7th and 8th grade band students went to Pinkerton Academy, and they performed with the world-renowned Dallas Brass. And Dallas Brass did this arrangement of Star Wars at the Stockbridge Theater. Our students were very well prepared. Mr. Robbins said that they had a fantastic time. The kids got to play with professional people who make their living as musicians. And it was an unforgettable experience for our students. And this was celebrated by Asher Farrar, Sophie Nash, Andrew Conti, Jackson Ballounis, and Lily Johnson, Mabel Bachman, and Dominic Fazio. So thank you and congratulations to those students. This past weekend, our students also participated in the New Hampshire Music Educators Association Southeast District Festival. It seems like so many things happen at the end of the year. It's at this point in time, our end of the year calendar is 3 pages long, and I will share with you the highlights so you're not overwhelmed, because we'd love for you to invite you to some of these end of the year activities. So the middle school directors nominate the outstanding students, and they assemble in a band and choruses for an all-day festival. This year it was held at Winnicott High School, and our 8th graders were Mabel Bachman, Melissa Steer, and 7th grader Aislinn Sprague, and they were in the choir. And in the band was Dominic Fazio, Carly Rue, and 7th grader Jackson Eichen. So congratulations, it was a long day, but it was a beneficial day for these outstanding music students. We have SAS testing coming up on May 17th. Wow, aren't you excited? That's my angels. Yes, yes. We have an opportunity to show them what we've learned. Thank you, Tristan and Sarah. Oh, my props. Oh, you can shut that off. Thank you. It's probably my husband to see if I fed the dog yet, but I haven't. But she'll be fine, Margaret. So as required by law, we have state testing, and this year we have, again, New Hampshire SAS testing. On May 17th, we will be testing for mathematics. On May 19th, we'll be doing reading and writing on May 24th, and science on June 1st. We have spread these out, so it wasn't a huge taxing piece, but an opportunity for our kids to excitedly show their learning and see where we are after being back in school for a year and 1 month. So this is a great opportunity for us to show what we have learned And last year, our SAS testing was a month after we had just returned to school after being out for a year. It was a tough time. So we're looking forward to demonstrating our students' learning. And graduation, as you know, is Wednesday, June 22nd. We have induction ceremony for the National Junior Honor Society will be on June 20th. Our scholar leaders for New England League of Middle School, they have been selected. However, they are only being told about it tomorrow because of the scheduling of the 8th grade team, so I don't want to announce them now. I want them to get the thunder tomorrow with their team. And we had Cinco de Mayo on Friday. Senor Ernesto put on quite a feast where the students greeted everyone in Spanish, took their orders in Spanish. There was a lot of food, a lot of fun. Parents came in. It was a great day. Do you remember that, Jack?
Well.
It was wild. I mean, in a nice way, in a very, very professional way. There's a lot of chips everywhere, but man, it was a blast. And just to have everyone together, it was a great thing. And I would like to just really thank the PTSA for putting on an amazing staff appreciation week last week. Our teachers came in and support staff were just like, what is going to happen today? And I know how much work that is as a mother and father working on those activities, but it really was heartfelt. We received it, and it was just a week of building us up. So it's like Phoenix rising. We are building, 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 and just for parents to show their appreciation was very well received, and I thank you on their behalf and on my behalf. Are there any questions that I can answer for you or articulate anything?
Nope. None.
So we're not slowing down at all. When people say, "Oh, you're wrapping up the year," oh, honey, we're moving at full blast here at Hampstead. We've got carnival days coming, we've got field trips coming, and I wonder if I could just segue into that next portion of the field trip permission part.
Actually, we have one thing we just want to go in between. I'm going to turn it over to Bob. There's a special recognition that he'd like to lead.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to acknowledge a special member of our audience this evening. Hampstead Central School teacher Sarah Weiscarver has been recognized as the New Hampshire STEM Teacher of the Year. 3 awards are given by the New Hampshire Society of Professional Engineers each year, and Sarah has received the elementary school grades 1 through 5 award for 2022. NHSPE recognizes excellence in the teaching of STEM in New Hampshire schools as evidenced by creativity, innovation, integration of programs, and learning effectiveness. Mrs. Weiscarver has brought so many projects and hands-on learning opportunities to Hampstead students over the years. We are thrilled to see her being recognized and celebrated by colleagues and professional organizations. Congratulations, Mrs. Weiscarver.
Speech, speech, speech. You come to the mic just for a minute. We want to see the embarrassment.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Thompson, for acknowledging. It means a lot to me to be honored in this way, and I appreciate it very, very much. Our staff in Hampstead, as you know, is incredible, and I could not do this without the collaboration of all of our staff at HCS and HMS as well, and of course our students. They keep me motivated every day, so that's it. Thank you.
All right, now you can.
One of the greatest teachers I have ever had the honor to work with and meet in my life, so very well received. My request is to have permission from the school board to approve of our 8th grade class to go on a field trip to Boston in June. The reason why I ask you is because it's out of state. It would be on Monday, June 20th, which is 2 days before they graduate, and they would be touring the North End, the Rose Kennedy Greenway, visit the Holocaust Memorial at Faneuil Hall, possible trolley tour, and a trip to the New England Aquarium. We are putting that all together. Mrs. Wolf is in charge of that, and so we are planning on doing that on Monday. The previous Friday, they will be going to Canopy Lake. And I wish I could say, well, I don't wish, but there's no curriculum tied to that, really. It's just these kids deserve some fun. So this is what I'm proposing and asking permission, that we could take them to Boston.
All right. Be looking for a motion to approve 8th grade field trip in June under policy IJOA.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Any questions? All right. Then I'm looking for a vote. All approved?
Go class of 2022.
Congrats. Good luck.
Thank you.
And Mrs. Denola, the response is physics and roller coasters. That's the
you.
curriculum tie.
That's why he's the boss. Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson.
Absolutely.
What, Tristan? There's history. That's my boy. Thank you so much.
Very good.
Says our future social studies teacher.
Yeah.
We're recruiting.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll give a
Thank
moment.
you.
All right. That was impressive. So, the next one on their agenda is for Mr. Thompson to lead something we've been looking forward to, is the strategic plan presentation.
All right, excellent. So this is our big moment, the moment we've been waiting for all year. Tonight, I'm honored to join my fellow members of the Strategic Planning Steering Committee to present the 2022-2025 Hampstead School District Strategic Plan. The document that we are about to present provides strategic vision for our schools and ensures that all students receive a high-quality educational experience here in Hampstead. And I'd first like to start by acknowledging the members of the committee. So the committee was made up of a representative group of stakeholders that included Lauren Chula, who's a Hampstead parent, Maria Denola, Hampstead Middle School principal, Tracy Griffinhagen, the Director of Student Services, Dr. Carl Hubner, Hampstead community member, Lisa Lambert, Hampstead Central School paraprofessional, Dr. Joseph Miller, who was the facilitator with a consulting firm called Think Strategy, Erin Pellegrini, who served as the Hampstead School Board representative, Chad Pimentel, Hampstead Middle School teacher, Bob Thompson, Hampstead School District Superintendent, Nicole Tomaselli, who's the Director of 21st Century Learning, Assessment, and Technology, and the award-winning Sarah Wisecarver, Hampstead Central School teacher. And just to walk you through the process, so this is a year-long process that began in July. In July, the Hampstead School Board gave the charge to update the expired strategic plan that was the 2015-2020 strategic plan. The administration began working with consultant Dr. Joe Miller of Think Strategy. And last summer, the administration reviewed the 2015-2020 strategic plan, discussed a framework for the new plan, determined the composition of the steering committee, and developed a timeline for the work. A key component to the development of this strategic plan was receiving feedback from stakeholders. And so a survey was administered using the Thought Exchange program. This program, we created a prompt to get feedback from stakeholders. And that prompt was, as we work together to realize our vision, what new directions and opportunities will have the greatest impact on the success of our students? In total, we received 231 responses. Participants also had the opportunity to rate other responses. And I just wanted to focus on some of the higher rated comments because they really become the basis for some of the priorities, strategies, and values that you'll see. So some of the respondents to the survey commented that communication between community, parents, school, the ability to continue to have open, positive dialogue, and an opportunity to provide input. Over and over again, the word communication consistently came up in our survey data and in our conversations as a strategic planning committee. A focus on high quality, relevant professional development for teachers, professional development that's meaningful, and that helps to improve outcomes for students. There was a focus on making education fun, realizing and respecting that all students learn differently. And then, of course, a reoccurring theme was a new building addition and outdoor learning spaces. There was also a lot of feedback in regards to expanding early intervention for all students, including special education services. And so this survey data really helped to form the basis for the core values that we are about to present, and also the strategic priorities. So the members of the Strategic Planning Committee met periodically throughout the year. In sum total, we met 9 times, and we really had rich conversations, diving deep into questions such as, what do we value most as a school community, and how best can we serve students? And it was really amazing to see the progression, and I'm very proud of the document that my team members are about to present. This is a living document. You can sometimes fall into the trap of creating a really great strategic plan and you put it on a shelf and it gathers dust, it expires, and then you write a new one and you don't act upon it. This is a strategic plan that will be acted upon. It calls for each of our 2 school buildings annually to develop an action plan around the priorities that are identified. That action plan will have action items, and it will also have deliverables that each of the buildings will have to achieve throughout the year. So this document will evolve, it will stay relevant, and it will change over time. There are 2 major components to this document. The first is the articulation of the core values as a school district. Many of these values were carried over from the 2015-2020 strategic plan because those values are timeless. You're also going to see that we've identified 5 priorities that we believe will move the district forward. So with that said, I'd like to hand the microphone over to Erin Pellegrini, who is going to talk about core values.
So core values are traits or qualities that are not just worthwhile. They represent our district's highest priorities, deeply held beliefs, and core fundamental driving forces. They are the heart of what we stand for. We have developed 5 core values, and they are as follows. Core value 1, communicate with positive intent. We engage in communication that is honest in intent and transparent in its goals. Core value 2, honor the child. We strive to make child-centered decisions that result in healthy and dynamic, vibrant learning environments for students and fulfilling and meaningful working environments for staff. Core value 3, relationship and team building. We strive to build relationships that strengthen our team because we accomplish more as a high-functioning team than we can alone. Core value 4, act with integrity. When we act with integrity, we are honest, ethical, dependable, accountable, fair, not judgmental, and trustworthy. Core value 5, culture of collaboration. We collaborate as parents, students, teachers, and community for the betterment of the school district. When we collaborate, we are curious about each other's thoughts, appreciative of contributions of all, and focused on the longer-term goals. The next part of the strategic plan are the 5 priorities. I'd like to introduce Sarah Wisecarver to review priority number 1.
So in thinking about our priorities, the first priority that we decided to have as a district was to work on empowering students to become expert learners who have the confidence to advocate for themselves and take responsibilities for their learning. When we're talking about expert learners, we're talking about students and learners who understand the purpose of their learning and they're goal-directed. They are resourceful and they make a plan for their learning. So they're thinking about what tools and resources do I need? What's my first step when I'm working on this? When I complete that step, what's my next purpose? And how will I know when I'm done and that I've achieved something that's I'm proud of? They monitor their own progress and they are connecting their prior knowledge to new information. We have a few strategies to meet this priority. The first strategy was to develop clear academic expectations in student-friendly language and the habits of an expert learner, which I just described to you. So we're going to create academic standards in student-friendly language. We're going to identify and communicate the habits and strategies of expert learners. And we will provide targeted professional development for staff to support the habits of effective learners. Our next strategy will be to develop and share a tool set that encourages students to take responsibility and ownership for their learning. We will provide opportunities for strategic and goal-directed learners. We will explicitly incorporate common vocabulary for growth mindset. We will implement tools to support organization and self-regulation and encourage both educators and students to take risks. Our third strategy will be to develop and expand ways to increase student voice and reflection on their learning. We will implement strategies for universal design for learning as a methodology for instruction and assessment. When I'm speaking about universal design for learning, it's a research-based framework that provides multiple means of engaging with a curriculum. It provides options for students to access and demonstrate their learning and understanding in a variety of ways. We're really talking about the how, the what, and the how and the what of how they're going to be showing their learning. We're going to provide additional opportunities for student leadership within the school community, and we're going to empower students to design their own learning goals and allow them to explore and reflect on a variety of tools and resources to best meet their needs as a learner. Really looking at learner variability, understanding that each student may have individual tools and resources which will be best for them. The next priority will be discussed by Carl Hubner.
Thank you. So priority 2 is examining current programs and practices for relevance and effectiveness. This priority is really important to me. Often in educational programs and initiatives, they exist merely because they always have. We need to maximize our resources to create the best education possible. The first strategy for this is completing a matrix that inventories curriculum programs across all grade levels and content areas. We want to create a system that maximizes resources, especially the two most valuable resources, time and money. The reason for creating a system is about making evaluation not just an arbitrary judgment, and also to help everyone understand why we are making these changes. The second strategy is to incorporate instructional best practices into teaching, reflection, and evaluation. This strategy is about working as a team to find the best teaching methods possible. We want to make sure that the staff have the time and resources to do this, which will allow the staff to integrate these practices then into their teaching. The last strategy is redesigning the staff evaluation system to ensure alignment with Hampstead School District's professional growth model. During the time of that which shall not be named, comprehensive evaluations were not possible. It does create an opportunity to make our evaluation systems more effective, though. We want to move towards a coaching style evaluation to help our staff grow, not one of judgment, one that encourages risk and growth to have teachers strive to be the best district possible. And now, introducing Priority 3, Principal Maria Denola.
Priority number 3. I think we showed you an example of that this evening by celebrating our students, having them in front of their school board and their parents, and celebrating their unique learning opportunities that they have here at Hampstead. And our priority number 3 is fostering a positive school culture that honors the emotional well-being of all students and staff. And by doing that, our 3 strategies are, number 1, improve staff connection to the school community and support emotional well-being. And that means increasing awareness of mental health supports for staff, develop activities and school celebrations that contribute to a positive school culture, providing professional development opportunities that are inclusive of all staff members, including support staff and our teaching staff. Number 2, increase staff connections to students. As you saw even this evening, how much their teacher believed in them, their parents believed in them, they believed in them, and they were proud of their work, and they wanted to show it to the people who are their heroes here at the school board. And we want students to celebrate their learning in different modalities, whether it's in front of their classmates in the classroom, at festivals, at showcases, and to celebrate them. This is their time to shine, and we want to give as many opportunities as possible. And in increasing their staff connections to students, identifying those gaps in emotional well-being supports for students, and train our staff in mental health first aid. Number 3, to identify the connections between staff and students to ensure all students have a connection with at least one staff member. That sounds small, and it is, because for Hampstead, our teachers take incredible pride, and our support staff take pride in knowing our students, meeting them where they are and what their needs are that day, that hour, that minute. And that's one of our strengths, and we want to even do better as we go forward. And number 3, celebrate students and staff. Discover new and innovative ways to showcase students and staff who demonstrate and also model the Hampstead School District core values. It's one thing for us to speak about it, put it down in adult terms, but how are we modeling that core value system here at Hampstead, like at the middle school? What does it mean to be a hawk at the elementary school? What does it mean to be a husky? And to use that in our discussions with students on a regular basis, so they know what the expectation is, and celebrate it. And create additional opportunities for public recognition of student and staff achievements. Thank you for allowing us to do that this evening and last time. And provide greater opportunities for staff and students to showcase their unique talents. And next, I would like to hand it over to Priority 4 to Dr. Hubner.
Thank you. So Priority 4 is an important one for everybody in the district. It's improving communication for staff and community stakeholders. To be effective leaders, you have to not just only listen, but also show that you've heard that those people that you've served. Our first strategy for this is aligning messaging to the community with core values and strategic priorities of the district. This strategy is about creating positive, proactive messaging instead of being reactive. We want to highlight progress we are making on the strategic plan and the vision of the district. We want to show how we are helping students to self-advocate, how our programs are becoming more efficient, how our culture will continue to be reflective and positive, and how we can be creative in our educational design. The next strategy is soliciting feedback from stakeholders, including staff, students, and community. We want to create a communication system that is a reflective part of the district. We want to create a variety of ways of getting feedback in order to ensure multiple points of view. Most importantly, we want to finish the feedback loop by showing voices were heard and highlighting the suggestions we were able to work on. We don't have the resources to act on every suggestion, but we want people to at least know we heard them, and we are always open to feedback. The last strategy is creating a Hampstead School District parent partnership group. While informal relationships are great, having a system for getting parents involved is key. We want to make sure all our students have the opportunity to succeed. We also want to help to educate our parents on why we do what we do and address their concerns through a professional development process similar to our staff. And now, introducing priority 4 is Superintendent Bob Thompson.
All right. Our last priority is to design learning environments to match our educational philosophies. And our first strategy is to conduct a comprehensive facility studies for both school buildings. And the goal of the study would include determine current space utilization and how we can create greater efficiencies for future use, understand the current impact that the physical environment poses to instructional outcomes, and begin long-term planning for future needs. Essentially what we would do is we would have a consultant come in who has experience in evaluating the physical school environment to make sure that it aligns appropriately with our instructional program. Additionally, we would develop a scheduling task force in each school to review and revise the master schedule to ensure maximize learning opportunities for students, current best educational practices of school schedules, and accessibility and equity of opportunity to the diverse populations of students. The program that is offered here in Hampstead, it's dynamic, it's robust, it's continuously changing. And oftentimes a school's master schedule doesn't always keep up. And so it is a really great reflective practice to be able to continuously look at the master schedule to make sure that it aligns with your values and it provides opportunities for children to maximize their learning. Another strategy is, in partnership with community organizations, create dynamic outdoor learning spaces for students. This would include identify and map locations for future outdoor spaces, create an annual maintenance plan that solicits community volunteers for upkeep, create and promote a schedule of use for outdoor learning spaces. The Hampstead schools are very fortunate. We have a number of outdoor learning spaces. We have 2 wonderful campuses. We can build on this. We can build partnerships with community members to help come in, just as we're doing at the community garden right now, you know, where our community partners are building outdoor classrooms for our students. We can move learning outside. We have a keen awareness that learning does not always have to take place in the confines of a 900 square foot traditional classroom. Getting kids outside, engaged in nature, engaged in inquiry-based learning is beneficial to not only our students' educational needs, but also to their mental health. And finally, through strategic community partnerships, develop off-site learning opportunities for students in the Hampstead community. Partnerships would include providing access for students to local organizations and businesses for developing real-world skills. When appropriate, we would connect middle school students to internships, career technical education, and work experiences. And 3, we would incorporate service learning and extended learning opportunities for students. Again, there's a recognition that learning does not always need to occur within the confines of a classroom. And we recognize that if we're truly committed to preparing students for future endeavors, we need to get them out into the community. They need to have real-world experience that's going to prepare them for the future. This also helps to build on partnerships and satisfies the needs of our business community that is constantly looking for the next labor market and to be able to train their workforce. So these are our priorities. This is our strategic plan. So this document serves as the roadmap. So when community members say, where are the Hampstead schools going? What's the vision? What does the future look like? I present to you this strategic plan. It's an articulation of our vision, and I'm proud of this document because the centerpiece is the students. And I have to tell you, I'm rounding out year 1 as the superintendent of schools in Hampstead, and what an amazing year it has been. These schools are truly amazing. You have some incredibly talented and committed staff. You have students that are eager to learn. You have parents that support the schools. You have a school board that places appropriate expectations on its staff. The conditions for success are here. And this document attempts to capture all of the great work that has been happening and will continue to happen, but it also creates aspirations for the future, for us to be a community that is committed to continuous improvement. And lastly, I just want to take a moment again to thank the individuals that are here and those that couldn't be here who served on this committee. Their insight is absolutely extraordinary. Every one of them approaches this work with a different lens, and that has led to value added with this document. And lastly, I want to thank Erin Pellegrini, who actually created this document. She put her skills to task, and she didn't charge us any money either, which we appreciate. And what you see is just a very visually appealing document. So I present this to the Hempstead School Board for consideration for first reading. And at this time, we'll entertain any questions that the board might have.
Seeing 40% of our school board was on the committee. I'm not sure if they have any questions for the committee.
I have a comment. I can't come up with any questions, actually. This is an intense word, but I love this. It's wholesome, it's actionable, measurable. It's all-encompassing. We're talking about education and social and emotional well-being, and it's something we should all be proud of. Well, we all should be very proud to be a part of the Hempstead School District. Yeah. And it is a piece of art. It really is a beautiful document.
Thank you.
Got a couple questions on it. First, well done. This is really, it's been one of those that we've talked about for now about 10 months. And it's been like, okay, when's it coming? But you can see the work that went into this, so it's amazing.
And our original timeline was January.
Right.
And then there was Delta, and there was Omicron, and there were all of life's events. So the timeline was off a little bit, but the end result, I think, makes it worth the extra time spent.
Goes to a little bit about Megan said, this is measurable. So, so that it is a living document. How do we ensure that we're, going after what's in here and measuring that we've done it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I think, that's where the action plan that the buildings will come up with comes into play. That's where the accountability is. Because, the first ideation of the document was incredibly detailed and very specific. And the feedback that we got from some of the staff members, the principal's leadership team, was it's too specific. Can you pull back a little bit? We still want the accountability, but could we, each building every year, come up with their own action plan? So you'll see in that action plan, which the building principals will present at the beginning of the school year, that work will begin once this document is approved. The principals will go to their principal leadership team. They're going to go through every priority, every strategy, and say, all right, how do we conceptualize this strategy? How do we make this come to life? How do we get action on this? They'll develop that plan. They'll present to the board a deliverable, so that's where the accountability lies. And then they'll come back at the end of the year, and they'll clearly be able to say, we told you in September we were going to do this, we got it done. Or they'll come back and say, we just need more time on this. So it's the action plan, the annual action plan is going to keep this document relevant.
There was, let's try to get right to it, where you talked about for the buildings to evaluate the learning space. When do you foresee that happening?
Well, already I have begun the process of receiving bids and proposals to have a facility study done. I currently have a proposal from the New Hampshire School Administrators Association, and once the board has taken action on the strategic plan, we can begin the decision-making process around the timeline and the scope of the work that will be completed. I can tell you I have some previous experience with such facility studies. They yield a tremendous amount of valuable information to a school district, not only on the physical space, but also the instructional program. And for those of you that have been keeping up with bills in the legislature, there recently was one that said in order for a school district to be able to access any type of building aid, they must have completed a facility study. And although that bill has stalled in the House, it is likely to pass in future sessions. So this will position us well if building aid becomes available, that we can check that off the list, that we have done a comprehensive facility study.
I'm sticking on the community page, or the design learning environments on priority 5, Mr. Thompson. Partnership with community organizations create dynamic outdoor learning spaces. I know it's being done over the garden a little bit, so an outdoor learning space with seats over there now for them. What else are you envisioning? Any other ideas that the community should be aware of right now that you're thinking for an outdoor learning spaces?
Yeah, so right now, and I'll talk a little bit about this in the superintendent report, right now, the articulation of this is the community garden. Okay. And we have a number of groups, whether it's the Hampstead Hearts, we had the Girl Scouts, we have the St. Anne's Food Pantry. Right now, that is the focus. What I envision for future space is working with, the Eagle Scouts, to have the Eagle Scout program, come in and help, build additional outdoor spaces. Again, if you build it, they will come, and the program will follow. So there's still a lot of work to be done.
Okay. And then my last question is just overall, what are you foreseeing? And I know it's really early, but we're already going to start talking budget. But what are you foreseeing that, maybe something that's going to be in the budget request to help accommodate the plans? Do you see anything here yet?
Well, I think, the facility study, I think, will carry with it some associated cost. I think if we're really going to look at the teacher evaluation system, there could be some investment in some costs to potentially bring in a new teacher evaluation model. That can sometimes have budgeted impact. And then I think, again, if each one of the schools is going to develop an action plan at the end of the school year, we'll be able to identify what we will target as budgeted items versus non-budgeted items. Yep. And then we'll be able to come back to the board in the fall and say, based upon the action plans developed by each building, this is what this is going to look like as we move forward with the operating budget.
Okay. I do actually have one more last question. Now I know that the agenda, everything's out there for the public, but is this going to be sent out officially to this, the parents and to the community?
Yeah. So the as of right now, this still remains a draft. Yeah. And what I would ask for is this to be treated similar to what we do with policy. That this is a first read. We'd come back at our next meeting for second read and approval of the document. At that point, it becomes, official, and we're going to blast this out. We're going to go out to the community to make sure that our community, whether you have children in the school or not, are aware of what the vision, what the roadmap is for the school district. We will put the document as is right now on our website, front and center. We will email it out to families so that they have an opportunity to view it.
Do you think that this would be, I say a road show, but some sort of communication that you'll be going out to maybe the select board and others to present to this, or what's your thought there?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome the opportunity to get in front of anyone who will listen. Okay. And be able to share the document.
All right. Any questions, comments?
Just for me, in my experience with some strategic plans, you see 140 pages. They're highly specific, and people get 30% of them done. Whereas in the military, they have a thing called commander's intent. This is what the direction we want you to go in. We trust you achieve it and to set your goals, and I think this is really good. And the idea is that the district can grow into this document and then show appreciable results over time. And also, like Superintendent Thompson said, that it's an iterative document. It will develop over time, and we may have to change it over time. So I think it's really well done.
Yep. Well done for sure. Appreciate this. All right. I don't know, Ms. Thompson, you want to stay up there, and or you come back to sit down, talk about the HCS addition? Sure.
Excuse me, Chairman Smith?
What I missed?
Would you like to take a vote on the approval of first reading of the strat
that's
plan?
right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Skipped over that. All right, so we're looking for a motion for accept this strategic plan for the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All approved?
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. All right, on to the HCS addition discussion, Mr. Thompson.
Okay. So we have a meeting scheduled next Wednesday, March 18th, with the architect to discuss a new concept design. As we've stated before, we have identified student safety as the top priority as we plan to move forward with an addition project at HCS. This being the case, really the focus of the design concept, and again, this is still a work in progress, is that main office area. And we've been having conversations with the architect about what that might look like. So there is an absolute need for student safety in having a new main office area that would accommodate all of the traffic into the building. And a design that we've been looking at is to potentially build either a second floor with a library or potentially a third floor. And so the architects are currently looking at that proposal. And we've also asked them to look at the potentially building classrooms off of the 60s wing. And again, we have a safety issue in the 60s wing that is very concerning, and it is the width of the staircase. It's not to code. Now, of course, it's grandfathered in because of the age of the construction. But if we had the opportunity to build out off of the back of the 60s wing, either 2 classrooms or 4 classrooms, it would be a good opportunity for us to address that deficiency. So these are ideas that we've shared with the architect. And on March 18th, I'm hoping that we have a design concept and that we have some initial pricing. Again, we're submitting an application for building aid. That application is due on June 30th. We would need to submit to the Department of Education, here is our plan, here are the rough numbers for cost. So we do have somewhat of a deadline that we're working on. I'm also excited to announce the formation of the Hsdsb Central School Building Committee. The purpose of this committee would be to steward the district through a building addition at the Hsdsb Central School. And in working with Chairman Smith, we've identified really 3 goals of such committee. One is for the committee to provide input to school administration and school board on a proposed building project. Second would be to receive status updates on proposed building projects, whether it is from the architect, the project management company, or the contractor, or the school administration. And then 3, develop plans for soliciting community input. That's really a critical piece of this, is making sure that we are going out to the community, getting their input as we move forward. So this is, right now, it's just a framework. It would be our intention to hold an organizational meeting sometime in May or early June. We will be soliciting community members and parents for this committee. I would ask that if there's any folks that are interested, you please reach out to myself or to Chairman Smith, and you will be making some decisions about the composition of that committee. And with that said, I'll open it up to any questions or anything else that either David or Jay would like to add.
I'll add, sorry. We had a discussion with the architects and the team involved, must have been about a month ago now. We looked at a really rough sketch of a first pass, And what I appreciated was there was actually honest dialogue about what we liked, what we didn't like, receptive feedback, and even modifications on the fly. And, we would like to have seen something by now, but we also know we can't rush this, so that we get what we think is appropriate, that we would bring to the public for what that submittal would be for the end of June. So, I just reflect back on that conversation, and I'll say the board members here, Jay and I, were pretty honest, as well as Mr. Thompson and Jeff was there, and we gave some honest feedback that there was a few things we didn't like, that we were thinking a little bit more, and it was very good dialogue. The architects listened, and they heard a little bit more about why we were going at that angle and what we thought about the main office and maybe the library above it, maybe a third floor, and they started to understand our vision in the future of what that looks like. So, I say that because, I want to be transparent with some of those discussions that are going on behind the scenes that the public doesn't, always see, but know that we are looking at, how to bring the most value and the best value to the community. And that's why we don't have something in front of us right now. But I do feel confident that we'll have something for the next meeting based on some recent dialogue and communications.
And one of the key points I just want to really hit on is the vision for the future. This proposal is something that we're thinking about for next year, but they're putting this into place with the perception or the thought of what we're going to do next year, the year down the road. And just because we bring one proposal to the table this year, that doesn't mean we're done. This is a multifaceted proposal and a multifaceted project that we're working with the architects on.
Yeah, build on that a little bit is, as an example, we've talked about the need for an extra set of bathrooms on the second floor. And the architects at first were like, well, why aren't you putting that bathroom in there with this design? And we looked in, we just had a dialogue about, well, if we can use something in our capital reserve, if we can do something with an investment in the future, that's how we can get that. That way we can bring, the most value to the community as far as to, bring down that $12 million, $12.5 million that was there before, down to something a little bit more manageable, something more digestible for the community, but also to hit upon that, what Mr. Thompson was talking about, that submittal at the end of June, which would give us that, we need to hit it for building aid. It has to be, I believe, Mr. Thompson, correct me if I'm wrong, but it has to be minimum $5 million. So we want to aim for that $5 million a little bit more to ensure that we're in that realm, and for building aid, which, while it may be a long shot, it's at least we're still in the running as of, this year. We'll see what we can do, but hitting on those safety measures, the needs to satisfy some of the safety things we've talked about with the administration wing, with the stairwell, will definitely help our chances. So, I don't know if anything else on that.
You hit it.
All right. So, Mr. Thompson, you're recommending the committee. So you're looking for people to communicate this month their intent that they'd like to be part of this, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. What's your thoughts about, once we receive the plan and the board members approve it, about some sort of public meeting for input, not only from that committee that would hopefully be formed by then, but allow anybody in the community to come in and provide some sort, input in understanding a little bit more detail of the plan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more we can make the community aware, this really is a new project. Last year's project was not a new project. That was the second year. People were familiar with it. So we're going to bring forward something that looks different. It has a lower price tag, and has different priorities. So I think there's a lot more legwork that needs to be done in us promoting the project, and us making the community aware of what that looks like. So I think having community forums, conversations about the new plan is entirely appropriate.
I don't know, board members, what are your thoughts about that? About some, we're looking at a June 30th deadline for the submittal. So what are your thoughts about it? Some sort of community forum?
I think it's good. We should. The community is going to be helping to pay for it if we can get it passed. So I think it's really important for everybody to have some input, ask questions, all that.
Read.
I'd like to recommend 2 to 3 public meetings between that So if we do pass this on May 24th, it's an if, but I'd like to recommend 2 to 3 inputs for the community between, let's say the 24th and, look to Mr. Thompson to understand, and maybe talk with the architects that if we have more input from the community, anything that we need to do, change, and have the ability to incorporate that on June 30th. But if we could do, probably 2 in person or and maybe 1 Zoom for those that, can't make it in for whatever reason, I think that'd be a good way to get that approach or get that input. But thoughts?
Yep, I would agree.
Could we do, I know when we did Thought Board, I think, was that Superintendent Thompson? Was Thought Board what we used before? Or the community, the idea of the community?
Thought exchange.
Thought exchange, yeah.
Thought
It would be,
exchange.
it would be very appropriate for a thought exchange. And we have the data from the previous thought exchange so that we could even go back and look at some of that feedback as well.
And also, after we do a public meeting, you could update the thought exchange with questions and answers for that, so that there is a written version of it too, and like an iterative process to work on it and go forward.
Okay. All right. Any other comments, questions on this? All right. Look forward to what transpires over the next 2 weeks. All right. Next one, Mr. Thompson, on the tuition rates.
Yes, so I'm looking for school board approval of tuition rates. You will find a memo in your board packet from Chief Financial Officer Jeff Dowd. Essentially, what we're looking for is approval of the 2022-2023 tuition rates. And the tuition rate is a calculation that's used when we have a non-resident apply for enrollment into the Hampstead schools, which does happen. And this is codified in School Board Policy JFAB. Just very quickly, for the audience, next year's rates, kindergarten, that rate is $10,600. Now again, that's for the half-day program that is guaranteed to any student. Elementary is $21,200. Middle school is $23,200. And a general special education program is $44,400. And I use the word general because specific services, specialized services, or a one-on-one or specialized transportation are not included in that calculation. So I'll entertain any questions the board might have and then look for action on the board.
This rate, this is equal or higher than what our average cost per pupil is?
It essentially is, so it's, Mr. Dowd uses a formula where essentially they take the Department of Education rate. They also look at what they call the ADM, the average daily membership. And then what they'll do is he will use last year's percentage increase of the budget to determine the rate. It's very similar to the rate if you were to go on the Department of Education's website and look at the per pupil cost for Hampstead.
Okay. Yeah, so basically they're not getting a discount from coming here. They're paying what we would pay or more.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from board members? All right. So looking for a motion to accept the tuition rates for the Hampstead School District from 2022 to 2023 as provided by Mr. Thompson and Mr. Dowd.
Second.
All right. Any discussions from that? All right. All approve? Unanimous. Thank you. All right. So, let's see. Next on the agenda is, as we do annually, federal funding authorization. And that each year the board must authorize superintendent and the business administrator to apply for and receive on behalf of the district federal and state grants and funding. So I'll be looking for a motion to authorize Mr. Thompson and Mr. Dow to independently or jointly apply for and receive on behalf of the district federal and state grants and funding, which includes approving and signing of OBM Form 1, Form 3, Form 4 as needed, and to file authorization forms with the New Hampshire Department of Education.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All approved?
Thank you.
All right. One moment. All right. So just a quick update to the public about the superintendent eval for 2021-2022. In accordance with CBIR, the board is going to go into a non-public tonight to continue with the process of the evaluation. The board will discuss the evaluation results from the superintendent, his direct reports, and the feedback from each school board member. We will then develop the feedback for the superintendent and approve the written evaluations. If needed, we may go into another non-public for another school board meeting in order to provide a written evaluation to the superintendent by the end of June. So it's really only update there, unless there's any questions, comments. All right. Next one is policies first reading. So let me just move things over. Board members, in your packets, you have two policies for first reading: JICD for student discipline and due process, and EH for public access to school district records. I don't know if anybody from the policy committee wants to speak to these.
I can try. So JICD relates to student discipline. And so Tracy and legal spent a pretty hefty amount of time reviewing and revising based on changing to align with legislature. And there were some redundancies with policy JIC, I believe. Oh, it says it right here. And then the second policy, EH, this was a policy related to right to know and public access to district records. This was repealed, and we are recommending to reinstate. And we used a draft language provided by the Hsdsb. Oh, actually, one other thing. This policy EH is, well, there's policy and then there's procedure. Within the procedure, that's where you'll find more details around the right to know request, such as costs for paper copies and such. I know you were asking, or we were talking about that last meeting.
Essentially, approval of the revised EH would result in a new set of procedures. I've already begun and created a draft of what those procedures would look like, specifically around the cost. So for example, right now, a right to know request results in a 50-cent charge per page. That seems a little hefty in cost, so what we would look to do is reduce it. I'm going to recommend to my leadership team that approves procedures that we look at the cost of perhaps 10 cents per page. That's more in line with what the actual cost of printing is. And it actually aligns with the library, for example. They charge 10 cents a copy. I'm getting a little ahead of myself because this policy has to go to second read and be approved, and then we would approve a new set of procedures. But they're ready to go.
So board members, we want to take a moment just to read the policies. The only thing I have, Ms. Thompson and Megan, on just a question that on the first page, directly under definitions and standards, there's language there that disciplinary measures may include but are not limited to removal from the classroom, detention, probation, crossed out in school, and then you have the word suspension. And then they crossed out of school and have the word suspension. So I think they meant to take out the word suspension in the second half.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
okay.
Thank you.
Good catch.
Good for one once in a while. So board members, I'll be looking for a motion to approve first reading of policies JICD and EH.
So moved.
Motion by Megan, for a second.
Second.
All right, any discussion, questions?
Two things that stood out to me that were positives are the idea that we want to discipline, we want to try to help the students with discipline to be better, but also not at the cost of the behavior that is a disruption to the teaching and learning of others that cause removal. For me, that's the standard, is we can't let 20 kids have their instruction interrupted to try to help with one kid. And then the other one is, I'd really like the idea of having a step-by-step process with a hearing for expulsion, which I think is super important to have that due process. So I really like this change in policy.
Good. All right, so looking for a vote, all approved? Unanimous, thank you. All right, so next we're going to move on to board comments and correspondence. Start down to my left. Carl?
Good.
Other than the discussions with the central school, I think that's all I had.
Nothing here.
I don't think I have anything. I know, it's weird. No, I probably do, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Okay. We're going to move on really quick then. No. All right, thank you, everybody. We are now going to go on to consent agenda. So, Mr. Thompson.
All right, in your packet, you have a personnel report. It's hiring season, and it's been a busy hiring season. So let's start. I have 2 resignations. These resignations would be at the conclusion of the 21-22 school year. These are professional staff members. Noella Nardino, HCS special education teacher. Jake Hutchkins, HMS music teacher. I also have several nominations for the 22-23 school year for professional staff members. This includes Caitlin Mello, HCS special education case manager. Kelly Martinez, Hampstead School District BCBA, and that stands for Board Certified Behavior Specialist. Stephanie Pomicado, again, Hampstead School District Board Certified Behavior Specialist. Michael Basalian, HMS Special Education Case Manager. And Michael Lozzi, HMS Science Teacher.
All right. Board member, take a minute to read over the packet on resignations and nominations. We'll be looking for a motion to accept with regret the resignation of Noella Nardina and Jake Hutchins. And making the same vote, we could take the nominations for the 5 members to join the professional staff.
I'll make the motion to accept, as stated with regret, the 2 resignations, and then without regret, the 5 nominations for the closure of the 21-2022 school year and the start of the 22-23 school year.
I'll second that.
Second. Any discussions, and if there's really any discussions, we'd have to do that in non-public, most likely, but anything to bring up? Good. All right, then we're looking for a vote to approve. All right, unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hobson. All right. Want to continue on with your superintendent's report?
Sure. Under the superintendent's report, I really would like to take the opportunity to thank our PTSA, our parents, and our community members for just the Staff Appreciation Week and all of the associated activities were just absolutely amazing. Our teachers are just so grateful for the support that the community continues to show them. So I wanted to thank them. Also, we continue to prep the community garden. I'd like to thank the Hampstead Hearts and other members of the community, St. Anne's Food Pantry, that's been prepping and preparing the garden. The seed starts that the students have done, those seeds, those plants are ready to go on the ground. They're big. They're chomping at the bit to get out there into the garden, and this is really going to happen. Also just wanted to make folks aware that we've begun installing exterior cameras on school buses. I know that this is a story that has gotten attention in the news and on social media. This is a process, it takes a little bit of time. They've been doing about 2 camera installs a week. We should have them completed by the end of the year. I've had the opportunity to talk with the Deputy Police Chief, who's in full support of the proposal. We don't necessarily believe that it's a deterrent, but it does provide the ability for prosecution for anyone who jeopardizes the safety of a child by driving erratically in and around a school bus. So that work should be completed by the end of the school year. We're pretty excited about that. In your packets, you should have received an invitation to the June 10th Pinkerton graduation. I'm excited to attend my first graduation as superintendent, going back to my alma mater. Get to watch Jack go across the aisle.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. And then lastly, we're hiring. We have positions available. All positions are available. You don't necessarily have to have experience to come work in a school. You need to like working with children, and you need to want to do something really meaningful with your life. We have a school nurse position available. So if anyone out there is a nurse working in a clinical environment, come give the school environment a try. Very exciting stuff. So please keep us in mind if you're thinking about making a career change. And that's all I have. I'll take any questions that folks might have.
Anyone? All right. Thank you, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you.
All right. Other business, old business. I actually do have something, but anybody else? Under, I'd say, other business, one discussion that Mr. Thompson and I did have, and we're fortunate enough to have a really thoughtful discussion with our local Senator, Regina Birdsell, at the SAU to talk about some of the legislation that is up at Concord to be voted on either by the House or by the Senate. Got some really good feedback from our school district to her, as well as she had some really good questions to us about how some of the legislation would impact us, or things that I'd say committees or discussions that are happening in the future. We had welcomed and asked her if she would like to come and speak to the board, so I would like to ask the board if we could consider having a working meeting before the next school board meeting, even if it's just 30 minutes, to talk about what legislation is up in Concord and to understand what is passing, and to also just have general discussion about what's going on in the school system. I think that would behoove us to build on that relationship and discussions for not only this year's legislation, but also inform and consider for what's coming in the next year, including school building aid and other information that she would share with us. Mr. Thompson, anything you'd add to that discussion that we had with her?
No, other than to say I appreciate the conversation and the dialogue for our elected officials to take time out of their busy schedule to sit down and not only provide us input on what's going on in Concord, but to actually take the opportunity to listen to some of our concerns. I think it's noteworthy.
Yep. So I think that's about the only thing there. Is just everybody's okay with that. I'd like to extend that offer to Senator Birdsell for a working meeting for 30, 45 minutes.
Just make sure we have enough time. Don't limit the time that we have in case we have questions or anything
Right.
like that.
Yep. So probably do like a 6 to 7, even though it may not go the full hour. Maybe it does, but to your point, make sure we have enough time. Okay. And then Jack, of course, if you'd like to join in on the fun, we'll invite you as well.
Send me an email.
All right.
It's non-committal.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, we are looking to close the public meeting and be looking for a motion to go into a non-public under RSA 91A32 under guidance of AC and L.
So moved.
I'm looking for a second.
I'll second that.
All right. I do expect us to come out of that and make a vote at the end, so just probably won't be too much discussion after, but just let everyone know that. Melissa, you meant in the roll call on that?
Sure. Mr. Giard?
Yes.
Dr. Hubner?
Yes.
Ms. Malcolm?
Yes.
Mrs. Pellegrini?
Yes.
And Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Thank you. The time is 8:33. Excuse me,
very much.
8:38.
8:38. Good. Thank you. So we've now come out of non-public at 9:50, and we're going to look for a motion to seal the minutes.
I would like to make a motion to seal the minutes because divulging this information would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the public body.
So we got a motion by Carl. In a second.
Second.
Second by Megan. All approved. Oh, actually,
Can I take roll call for that?
Yes, sorry about that, Melissa.
Thank
Take
you.
a roll call.
Mr. Giard?
Yes.
Dr. Hubner?
Yes.
Ms. Malcolm?
Yes.
Mrs. Pellegrini?
Yes.
And Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
All right, and we'll look to adjourn the meeting at 9:51 on this evening. Thank you all very much.